This is Ramona. Welcome back to another video. If you're enjoying any of these videos that I have up here, please like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the things, do some of the things, do none of the things. I can't tell you how to live your life, but I hope you're here and I hope you're enjoying this. We're going to be talking today about, tell me some stories about the weirdest coworkers you've ever had. Oh boy. Ready? I worked with this guy who constantly had allergy symptoms raging. He got hired as a temp 10 years in the past and just never left and was advanced beyond basically an entry-level position. He dated a girl in the office and basically beat on her, and that was the subject of endless work drama. He was notorious for accidentally walking in on people in the unisex bathroom that had no lock. But mostly, he was known as a mega slob who had piles of junk food wrappers in his cubicle. Mountains of stuff. Anyway, out of absolutely nowhere, he lands a job as an accountant for the CIA and is off to Washington with no notice, leading to complete bullshit stories that he was with the CIA all along. I got his desk. Oddly enough, we cleaned it as best we could, and the funny thing was, I sat down there and got horrid allergies within a day. I started to fear that I was becoming the guy, but my symptoms only lasted a week. I guess it was maintenance, a few scrub downs to literally cleanse the cubicle of his aura. I knew a 46-year-old man who lived with his parents. He had lived in the same bedroom his entire life. We worked demolition together. He was a huge pot smoker, but also an evangelical Christian. He was absurdly well versed in all judicial matters at the federal level. When he wasn't ranting about moral relativism, he was assailing circuit court decisions right and left. Despite my strong disagreements with much of what he said, I can't say he didn't know exactly what the fuck he was talking about. I work with a girl with no filter on her filthy mouth. Last week she was talking about golden showers in the morning meeting. She asked a coworker how often he gets boners. She also calls us by all the wrong names at least once a day. Okay, so I work with these two guys. One guy believes he is a cat and will randomly groom himself in a cat-like manner throughout the day, and the other guy has 3 cats, but doesn't act like a cat. While the cat guy who has no cats wants to get a spider for a pet. I'm pretty sure he's completely insane. I had a coworker who had been with the company for 10 years, and so prior to me, he was pushing 50 and just all around creepy in his appearance and demeanor. On about my 3rd day, he got into a minor disagreement with paperwork, and when he no longer wanted to hear what I had to say, he walked across the room and started banging his head against the wall, and just kept banging it. I got alarmed and tried to get him to stop, but it was as if I wasn't there. Eventually, one of the other coworkers came over and explained to me that he just does that sometimes. After about 5 minutes or so, he just stopped, walked over to his desk, and started typing. At another point, we had an argument where I shut him down because we had customers in front of us. I told him we were not going to fight like children in front of the customers. He then threw a tantrum and stomped, seriously stomped out of the room, yelling that I was a jerk or something, he never swore, and that he was quitting. This was also explained as something that just happens. He was gone for 4 hours, then randomly came back and started working at his desk. The guy also had an eating schedule, as in Monday breakfast was McDonald's, Monday lunch was Chipotle, Monday dinner was Jimmy John's. Tuesday, every day of the week, had a predetermined restaurant that he was going to eat at. He never cooked. He never got his driver's license because he got a minor fender bender with his permit. He talked about his dead parents almost every day, and at least once a week he gave us the countdown of his days until he was retirement age. I got transferred from that branch about 9 months back. I was told a few years down the road that he pulled one of the out of his walking out stunts and never came back. I had a coworker tell me he could see ghosts. He told me he had 3 that followed me. This was the same week he also said that he wished my boyfriend would break up so that he could have a shot. He still doesn't have any clue that as to why I can't stand to be in the room with him. I had a co-worker who was incapable of learning anything. I mean, absolutely incapable. We'd teach him a task, he'd write it down step by step precisely, and then could only do it that way. He couldn't apply the knowledge differently. Like if we showed him how to print in Word, we'd have to show him again in Excel like it was totally brand new. He freaked out a bit one day when we upgraded Outlook and the look and feel changed. He was useless for 2 whole days while he retook every Outlook training course. He was also the senior man on my IT support team. I have one about how this leaves his cereal in soy milk for about 3 to 5 hours at room temperature before eating it. Another time, he didn't have soy milk and cereal, so he used water. Water. Who uses fucking water for cereal? I worked with a telemarketer who made over 220K and started using heroin and was constantly nodding off at his job next to mine. His desk next to mine. I would poke him and he would wake up and take a few $100s and go back to sleep. Make a few $100s and go back to sleep. He just stopped showing up for work one day and quit altogether. I was really sad for him. He had a great thing going, but he couldn't keep it together. In one of my former jobs, there was a guy who was crazy about spoilers. You know, the guy who won't let you talk about any current movies or books or anything. Imagine him cranked to 11 and broadly applying these rules to anything at all that he ever wanted to read or see or do. Like, imagine you couldn't talk about Star Wars at all and reference it because he hadn't seen it yet and might want to someday, despite the fact that sometime in his 35 years on the planet, he might have taken the opportunity to see a 30-year-old movie. So one of the other guys I was working with, and I had just started reading some long-lasting series, and we're speculating about how it's going to happen, and having a nice conversation when we noticed him hunched in his seat, shaking, generally trembling with anger. What's wrong, man? Are you okay? We asked out of genuine concern. He whirls on us and hops out of his chair, still red-faced and shaking. You! Spoilers! You spoil everything! My coworker later said he thought the dude was about to hit me. What? You spoil everything. I wanted to read that book, and now you're spoiling it all for me. Red-faced and spittle-flying rage. Well, I'm sorry, but come on, the book came out over 20 years ago. My dad read it when I was a kid. I think the statute of limitations we're talking about has expired. No! No spoilers! Are you reading it now? No. Are you planning on reading it anytime soon? No, but it doesn't matter. So we shouldn't talk about anything you might want to read or see because one day you might deem to read a 20-year-old book. Yes! That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Which was while he lost it and started screaming at me, and it didn't help that I just lost it and started yelling and laughing my ass off because he was a grown-ass man bellowing at me about spoilers. He got so mad he grabbed the sides of his head and screamed and went running out of the office and disappeared for the rest of his shift. But he showed up the next day, still glaring at me. I used to work at a university library, and one of my coworkers would sneak off to smoke pot or have sex or something in the stacks. Not really weird, but probably a bad idea. Another coworker would walk among the shelves, just stroking the books for long periods of time. At first, I thought he was looking for something specific, or making sure things were in order, but no, he was just stroking the books. But the weirdest one had to be this curious habit of watching porn on the computer in the employee break room. The computer area isn't walled off in any way. It's in plain view of anyone who walks into the room, which adjoins both the circulation desk area and the supervisor's office. He kept doing this after 2 warnings and was fired upon being caught for the 3rd time. My first job was as a sandwich artist at Subway. I was 16 and the rest of the staff was 25 plus. They'd all been there for at least 5 years. I worked with 2 men who coincidentally had the same name. One was in his 40s and one was in his late 20s. The older man had terrible anger issues. He regularly yelled at customers and other employees, and I witnessed him slinging bread pans across the room on more than one occasion. I actually quit because of how scared I was around him. I was a small teenager. Things got intense when I put in my 2 weeks, and he blocked my exit and grabbed my arm, telling me I wasn't going to leave. The younger man had terrible personal hygiene. Customers complained regularly. He had very long hair and rarely shaved. I've been surprised if he'd showered as often as twice a week. He'd wait even longer before he'd wash his uniform. He came to work with black lint lining the folds of his neck. He was overweight, but not Jabba the Hutt size. I actually felt very bad for him because he was a really nice guy and my co-workers were assholes to him. A few years of Secret Santa gifts, he got soap. That absolutely broke my heart. For the last one, while working as a therapist at Wilderness Program for Troubled Youth, I met a man who went by the name of Rising Mountain. Among the myriad of odd things that he did, most of which I found quite entertaining, he invited me to come see his house and meet his wife and kids. While showing me around his house, he pointed out a rifle on a coffee table in his living room and said, "That's one of my guns." Doesn't really work. More of a conversation piece now. Though it wasn't the strangest thing, I did find it to be most entertaining and perplexing. Well, there you go. Little videos. Hope you enjoyed listening to this. Share your your crazy coworker stories if you want. I have quite a few, but most of them are too gross. Honestly, I don't want to relive it. Let's just be honest. Anyway, thanks for listening and watching, and please go check out another video. I'd appreciate it. And talk to you later. Bye. Hey, Ramona here. I am going to shamelessly self-promote here a little bit. In case you knows, I've got some stuff over on Amazon.com, some projects, novels, coloring books, some other stuff. The one I'm talking about right now is called My Memory Book. It's mostly for kids. I mean, I guess you could do it if you want to, but so that your kid can have a record, a memory book to record things throughout their life, because I found this out with my kid. He's like, well, what was my favorite color when I was a kid, and what songs did I like, what shows did I like? So I created this little book, and it's very colorful. It's small, but you know, it's got things like my full name is, and the year I was born, the day I was born. I like to watch my favorite programs and movies and the characters I like best, and it's a way for them to grow up, and you don't have to fill it all out at once. It's kind of like you're supposed to do it over the years. My thought was, every birthday go through and do a little bit. My first teacher was named. When I get older, I think I might like to be that kind of thing. Um, just a cute little way, fun little way for them to interact, and you can have your own little memory book. Get one for each kid or whatever, and just a way for them to learn. And as it goes on, the questions get a little more developed. They're not super developed at the beginning, but and you can put pictures in, you can do all kinds of stuff. My first job, stuff about school, stuff about music, your future dreams, that kind of stuff. But anyway, if you're interested, go look it up on Amazon.com. It's called My Memory Book. Good for kids of all ages, but mostly little kids, because you want to have them remember things later on. Anyway, thanks, and talk to you later. Bye.